So you think you're not doing well with money, but I want you to think again, because today we're gonna play a game that might actually completely change how you view your financial situation. Last week I sat down with 3 different people: a tech executive making $300,000, a business owner doing 7 figures, and a doctor making $400,000. And the thing that shocked me was that none of them thought they were winning with money. Each one felt that they were falling behind. But here's what's really interesting. When we went through the exact checklist I'm about to share with you today, their minds were blown. Because here's the truth about money: looking wealthy and being wealthy are often complete opposites. Now, before we dive deeper, let me give you some context. In 2018, I started with virtually nothing. And today at 33, I built an 8-figure investment portfolio, $15 million in real estate investments, and $10 million plus in stocks, crypto, etc. And this isn't me bragging, it's about showing you that strategic financial growth is possible, even if you're starting from scratch. So today, we're gonna play a game that might completely change how you view your financial situation. I'm gonna share 5 hidden signs that could prove that you're actually crushing it financially, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. And we're gonna look at real examples and data to prove each point. So grab a piece of paper, open your notes app, or just keep a mental tally, and for each checkpoint that you hit, you're gonna get 1 point. And by the end of this video, we're going to reveal what your score means and exactly what to do next. But first, let's talk about why this matters right now. According to the Federal Reserve, 64% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, including 47% of people making over $100,000 per year. I mean, think about that for a second. Nearly half of 6-figure earners feel like they're struggling. This challenge isn't about how much money you make, it's about the hidden signs that show you're building real wealth and not just for the appearance of wealth. So let's start with our first checkpoint. Your first challenge is a stealth wealth test. Let's look at some real examples of stealth wealth in action. So Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, despite being worth over $1.7 billion, he lives in a modest 2,400 square foot house, he flies commercial, he wears a $400 Apple Watch, and so give yourself a point if you can answer yes to any 2 of these. So first, you spend more money on assets that generate wealth, like investments or education, than on things that show wealth. Number 2, your most expensive possessions are things most people never see. Number 3, you never posted your income or expensive purchases on social media. And number 4, you drive a car that's well below what you could technically afford. Let me put this into perspective with some real numbers. Right now in America, the average car payment just hit $725 per month. 16% of car loans are currently in delinquency, and with an average new car price of $48,978, about 41% of car loans are nearly 6 years. And finally, 1 in 3 people with car loans are underwater. So think about that for a second. We got people stretching themselves thin just to look wealthy, while actual wealthy people often do the opposite. The reality is, most people trying to look wealthy aren't actually wealthy at all. They're often one missed paycheck away from serious financial trouble. Meanwhile, most of the truly wealthy people I know are driving Toyotas and shopping at Costco. And the interesting thing about wealth is it's like an iceberg. While most people see the cars, the watches, the Instagram posts, that's just the tip. The real substance, the 90% below the surface, that's what we're going to be talking about next. Checkpoint number 2, let's talk about real financial security. Here's a surprising fact. Mike Tyson earned $400 million during his boxing career, but filed for bankruptcy in 2003. Meanwhile, a school teacher named Ronald Reed amassed $8 million through careful saving and investing, which only became public after his death, which he left to charity. Give yourself a point if you hit any of these markers. Number 1, you have at least $2,000 saved specifically for emergencies. Number 2, you can cover 3 to 6 months of basic expenses if needed. 3, you have money set aside that you never touch except for real emergency. And number 4, you sleep well at night knowing you have a financial buffer. And here's why these markers matter. According to recent Federal Reserve data, 57% of Americans couldn't handle a $1,000 emergency expense, and 32% of Americans would need to borrow money or sell something to cover an unexpected $400 expense. Even among households making over $100,000, 40% say that they would struggle with a $1,000 emergency. And what's really interesting is that having an emergency fund isn't just about the money, it's about the freedom it gives you to make better decisions. Because when you have a safety net, you can say no to a toxic work environment, you can take calculated risks in your career, you don't have to put emergencies on credit cards, and you can focus on long-term financial decisions instead of short-term survival. Speaking of emergency funds, let me share with you some crazy stats from the 2008 financial crisis. Studies showed that households with even modest emergency savings of $2,000 to $4,000 were significantly less likely to face eviction or miss payments during the recession than those without savings, regardless of income level. And this is fascinating because it shows that something crucial about financial security, and it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. And just like Ronald Reed, the teacher who built $8 million in wealth, it's often the consistent, unsexy financial habits that make the biggest difference. Think of an emergency fund like a personal insurance policy against life's inevitable surprises, because it's not about if emergencies will happen, it's about when. And when they do happen, having that buffer can really make the difference between an inconvenience and a financial disaster. Now that we talked about having a financial safety net, let's look at checkpoint number 3, which is the lifestyle alignment test. This one's super important because it's going to show you how you handle your day-to-day money, because this next checkpoint might be the most powerful predictor of long-term financial success. The average millionaire doesn't live in a mansion or drive a Ferrari. In fact, according to research from the National Study of Millionaires, 95% of millionaires still budget their money. These self-made millionaires consistently point to one key habit that helped them build their wealth, and that's living below their means. Give yourself a point if you match any 2 of these behaviors. First, your lifestyle hasn't inflated much despite income increases. Number 2, you know your monthly expenses within $100 without checking. Number 3, you automatically save and invest money before deciding on what to spend. And number 4, you rarely feel pressure to keep up with what others are buying. Let me share some numbers that show why this matters so much. The Federal Reserve's latest data reveals something shocking about American spending habits. The average household household is spending nearly all of their monthly income. We're talking about saving less than 5% of what we make. Think about that for a second. Out of every $100 earned, $95 goes right back out the door. And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at what's driving this spending. First, credit card debt has reached record levels, hitting $1.13 trillion according to the latest Federal Reserve report. The average car loan has stretched to 70.4 months. That's almost 6 years of payments. And monthly subscription costs have doubled since 2019 according to Chase Bank's consumer spending data. But this isn't just about the numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about freedom. When you live below your means, you're not just saving money, you're buying yourself options. Let me give you a simple example that changed how I think about this. If you make $5,000 a month and spend $4,000, you're actually building more wealth than someone making $20,000 and spending $19,500. At the end of the day, it's not about how much money you make, it's about that gap between what you earn and what you spend. This is where real financial power comes from. When you have that gap, you have the ability to say no to things that don't matter, the freedom to say yes to opportunities when they come, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you're in control. So you might be wondering, what separates the people who master this gap from those who don't? And that leads us perfectly into our next checkpoint, which is all about your day-to-day relationship with money. Checkpoint number 4 is the money mindset check. You know how some people completely panic when their cards get declined at a restaurant, while others just calmly pull out another card? Now, the difference isn't just about how much money they have, it's about their relationship with money. And this next checkpoint might be the most revealing one yet. According to the American Psychological Association's latest stress research, money is the leading cause of stress for 72% of Americans out of work, health, or family responsibilities. But here's what's fascinating. The stress isn't always tied to how much money people have. Often, it's about how they think about money. So give yourself a point if you match any two of these behaviors. First, you can make money decisions without emotional panic. Number 2, unexpected expenses are annoying, not devastating. Number 3, you check your accounts regularly without anxiety. And 4, you can talk about money openly with close friends or family. Let me show you why this mindset matters with some real data. A recent study from the Financial Planning Association revealed that something crucial. People with a written financial plan are 2.5 times more likely to feel very confident about managing their money regardless of their income level. But it goes even deeper than that. The Journal of Financial Therapy, yes, that's a real thing, found that people's money behaviors are often set by age 7. Think about that. Many of us are running on financial autopilot based on things that we learned before we could even tie our shoes. Here's what the research tells us about people who have a healthy money mindset. They're 4 times more likely to save regularly, they recover from financial setbacks faster, they also make decisions based on data and not emotion, and they view money as a tool and not a scorecard. So let me give you a real example of what this looks like in practice. When someone with a healthy money mindset gets a bonus at work, their first thought isn't, what can I buy? Instead, they think, how can I allocate this? There's a huge difference between those two reactions, and this shift in thinking shows up in every aspect of your financial life. You stop seeing budgeting as a restriction and start seeing it as a spending plan. You view saving as paying your future self and not denying your present self. And you think about risk management, not just rewards. And the best part is, this mindset isn't just about money. Research from Harvard Business School shows that people with lower financial stress are more creative at work, have better relationships, and even sleep better at night. And this leads perfectly into our final checkpoint, because once you have this mindset dialed in, you're ready to look at the bigger picture of where your wealth is actually heading. Checkpoint number 5 is the growth trajectory test. For this final checkpoint, I want you to think about your net worth like a garden and not a lottery ticket. Because here's the truth about building wealth. It's not about hitting some magical number overnight, it's about consistent growth over time. A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research tracked thousands of millionaires and found something surprising. 80% of them built their wealth over 20 plus years. It wasn't through get-rich-quick schemes or crypto moonshots, but through steady, consistent growth. So give yourself a point if you match any two of these. First, your net worth is higher now than it was a year ago. Number 2, you're investing consistently, even if it's small amounts. Number 3, you have clear financial goals with specific timelines. Number 4, you're actively learning about money and investing. Now let me show you why this steady growth matters more than big numbers. Let's look at 2 different approaches. Person A tries to time the market, and they jump in and out looking for the next big thing. They might hit it big occasionally, but research from JP Morgan shows that missing just the 10 best market days over a 20-year period cuts your returns in half. Person B invests $500 monthly consistently in basic index funds at an 8% average return. After 10 years, they're looking at $89,000. After 20 years, they're looking at $296,000. And after 30 years, they're looking at $745,000. The power isn't in the numbers, it's in the consistency. It's like building muscle. You're not going to see huge changes day to day, but you look back after a year of steady work and the transformation is undeniable. And here's what the data tells us about consistent wealth builders. They check their net worth quarterly, not daily. They focus on trends and not individual numbers. They also celebrate progress and not perfection. And most importantly, they think in decades and not months. And you know what's really interesting? The Federal Reserve's data shows that the biggest predictor of wealth isn't income, it's behavior over time. Specifically, it's your ability to consistently make good financial decisions year after year. Now let's add up your points across all 5 checkpoints. Now your total score is going to tell you exactly where you stand and what to focus on next. And remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. If you're between 8 and 10 points, then you're absolutely crushing it. Now I know you might be thinking, okay, but I don't feel like I'm crushing it. And trust me, I totally get it. But the numbers don't lie. Keep doing what you're doing and know that you're on the right track. If you're between 5 and 7 points, that means that you got the fundamentals down, but there's still room to level up. Zero in on all these areas where you missed the points and make them your focus for the next 90 days, and these little tweaks can lead to big wins. If you're anywhere between 0 and 4 points, there's literally no hope for you. Okay, of course I'm kidding, there's no judgment here. We've all been there. The key now is that now you know. And knowing is is half the battle. The other half is taking action. So let's talk about your game plan. No matter what your score is, here's a real secret to winning with money. It's not about the big flashy moves. It's about the small consistent actions that you take every single day. I'm talking about things like setting up an automatic transfer to your savings account, even if it's just $50 per month. And not just any savings account, getting into a high yield savings account. Or spending 30 minutes a week learning about investing instead of scrolling through Instagram, or even grabbing a coffee with a friend who's killing it financially and asking how they do it. These might seem like small things, but trust me, they add up. It's like compound interest for your financial habits. Now, I know some of you guys might be thinking, okay, what about enjoying life? What's the point of building wealth if you can't have a little fun along the way? Believe me, I completely understand. And here's the thing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with spending money on the things that bring you joy, even if they don't seem financially smart on the surface. In fact, I'd argue that gratification is a crucial part of the wealth building journey. It's the reward for all your hard work and discipline. It's what keeps you motivated and energized to keep pushing forward. And the key here is to be intentional about it, to make sure that your splurges align with your values and your priorities, and to do it from a place of financial stability and not reckless abandon. So if that means that you're saving up for a dream vacation, then go for it. If it means that you're buying that designer bag that you've been eyeing for years, then do it. If it means that you're treating your friends to a lavish dinner, then by all means. Just make sure that you're doing it on your own terms with money that you purposely allocated for enjoyment. Because here's the truth, money is just a tool, it's not the end goal. So don't be afraid to let a little gratification into your financial plan. Just do it wisely and in a way that aligns with your long-term vision. And here's the thing about building wealth, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And like any marathon, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So if you're not where you want to be right now, then don't sweat it. The fact that you're here watching this video means you're already ahead of the game. Just keep making those small, smart choices, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Because here's the truth, you got what it takes, you got the smarts, you got the drive, and now you got the plan. So you've gone through this entire financial challenge, you're feeling motivated, and you're wondering, what's my next move? We talked about building wealth, living below your means, and creating financial freedom. But here's a $1 million question. Once you start saving and investing, where exactly should that money go? If you're ready to dive deeper into the exact places to put your money and supercharge your financial growth, check out my video on the 6 places that your money needs to go. It should pop up somewhere on the screen right now. I suggest you watch that. See you in the next one.